Among the mountains of Colorado, Michael fights for his family and the land he loves so much. Years of hard work seem to finally bear fruit, until an unexpected challenge takes him to the big city. But he returns with something more valuable than a simple deal, a lesson about respect and dignity. The sun had barely risen when Michael was already up, gazing at the golden-tinted horizon stretching over his agave plantation. His eyes, marked by time and hard work, proudly scanned every inch of that land which, for generations, had been the livelihood of his family. The morning dew still covered the sharp leaves of the plants, creating a spectacle of light that only the first rays of the day could provide. As he walked between the perfectly aligned rows of agave, Michael adjusted his worn straw hat, a gift from his father when he took over the responsibility of the farm. Each step he took was firm, familiar, with the terrain he had cultivated with such care over the years. The scent of the damp earth mingled with the wild fragrance of the wildflowers growing at the edges of the field, creating a symphony of sensations that only those who lived off the land could truly appreciate. On the porch of the simple yet welcoming house, Sophia was preparing breakfast, as she had done every morning for 20 years. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee and warm tortillas filled the air, blending with the cool mountain breeze. She watched her husband from a distance, a gentle smile on her lips, while her skilled hands worked the dough for the bread that would be served later. Lucy, the couple's daughter, appeared at the kitchen door, rubbing her sleepy eyes. Her dark, shiny hair was disheveled, and her little face still bore the marks of the pillow. "Mom, why does Dad always wake up so early?" she asked, sitting at the rustic wooden table that Michael had made with his own hands. Sophia approached her, daughter gently fixing her hair. "Your father is a man who has learned to dance with the sun, my love. He knows that every ray of light is precious for our plants." As she spoke, she poured a glass of fresh milk for the girl, who was slowly waking up to another day. The routine on the farm followed its natural course, like the waters of the stream that ran through the property. Michael returned for breakfast, his face lit up with a smile as he saw his small family gathered. He sat at the table after washing his hands at the stone sink, and Sophia served him a steaming cup of coffee. "The agave looks more beautiful than ever," he commented, picking up a warm tortilla. "This year, our work will be rewarded, I'm sure." His eyes shone with a mix of hope and determination that Sophia knew well. It was the same gaze that had won her over so many years ago, when Michael was just a young dreamer with big plans for his father's farm. Lucy watched her parents with curiosity, her small hands playing with the glass of milk. "Daddy, do you think I'll be able to help with the harvest this year?" The question made Michael's heart tighten for a moment. Just 2 years ago, they had almost lost Lucy to a fever that kept her bedridden for weeks. Those were days of anguish and sleepless nights, with Sophia and Michael taking turns by their daughter's bedside, praying for her recovery. "Of course, mi pequeña," he replied after exchanging a glance with Sophia. "But first you need to finish your studies. Miss Caroline said you're doing very well in school." The village teacher always praised Lucy's intelligence and dedication, as unlike many children in the area, she loved learning. Sophia began clearing the breakfast dishes, but her mind was far away. She thought about how their lives had changed since Lucy's illness. The fear of losing their daughter had been an ordeal that tested not only their faith, but also the strength of their love. Michael had worked double shifts back then, selling part of the land to pay for the treatments, always keeping a smile on his face so as not to worry the family. As the sun rose in the sky, the farm's routine came to life. Michael returned to the fields, where his helpers were already starting to arrive. John and Peter, brothers who had worked with him for years, waved from a distance. They were more than employees. They were part of the family Michael had built on that piece of land. The hours passed like clouds in the sky, slow but steady. The work in the fields was hard, but Michael found joy in every moment. He knew each plant as if they were his children, knowing exactly when each one was ready for harvest, when they needed more water or more care. In the afternoon, as the sun began to lose its strength, Michael gathered his men for an important conversation. The buyers from the big city had shown special interest in his crop this year. The news that his agave had been awarded for its exceptional quality spread quickly, and offers began to pour in. "Don Michael," called John, wiping the sweat from his brow with a worn handkerchief. "Do you really think we'll get a good price this year?" The question carried the weight of the hardships they all knew too well. Years of irregular harvests, losses caused by storms and droughts, had left their marks on each of them. Michael adjusted his hat, looking toward the horizon, where the mountains met the sky. "I'm sure, John, this year will be different." His voice carried a conviction that was contagious. "Our hard work will finally be recognized." Meanwhile, in the house, Sophia was organizing the preparations for dinner. Her experienced hands cut fresh vegetables from the small garden she kept in the backyard. Lucy helped her, sitting on a wooden stool, carefully peeling potatoes. The smell of fresh spices and the stew slowly cooking on the wood stove filled the kitchen. "Mom," called Lucy, her voice as soft as the afternoon breeze, "why does Dad work so much?" Sophia paused for a moment, choosing her words carefully. "Your father works out of love, my dear. Love for the land, love for us, love for the life we've built here." Sophia's words carried a profound truth that Lucy, in her innocence, could not yet fully grasp. Michael was not just a farmer, he was a guardian of dreams, a builder of futures. Every drop of sweat he shed on the land was a promise of better days. The sun was already setting when Michael finally returned home. His body was tired, but his spirit was light. The news he had received that afternoon was more than promising. An important buyer from the city had offered a price well above market value for his award-winning crop. It was the opportunity he had been waiting for. During dinner, the family gathered around the table as they did every night. The aroma of home-cooked food mingled with the stories of the day. Lucy excitedly shared what she had learned at school, her eyes sparkling with the enthusiasm of childhood. Sophia served another portion of stew onto her husband's plate, her attentive gaze capturing every detail of his expression. "Sophia," Michael began, after Lucy had gone to sleep, "I need to tell you something." He took his wife's hands in his, calloused from work, but always gentle. "The harvest. We got an excellent price, better than we ever imagined." Sophia's eyes filled with restrained tears. She knew what this meant. Years of sacrifice, saving, and deferred dreams could finally give way to a new reality. "Michael," she started, but words weren't necessary. The look they exchanged said it all. "I want to give you something special," he continued, his voice choked with emotion. "Something you've deserved for a long time. I'm going to Denver next week." Sophia tried to protest, saying she didn't need anything, that his presence and love were enough, but Michael was determined. That night, after Sophia fell asleep, Michael stayed awake, gazing out the window at the starry sky that stretched over their land. The stars seemed to twinkle in approval of his plans. He thought about everything they had been through together, the hardships they had faced, especially during Lucy's illness. He remembered the nights when Sophia had slept, sitting by their daughter's bedside, refusing to leave her alone even for a moment. He recalled how she always found the strength to smile, even on the darkest days. Sophia was his rock, his safe harbor, the reason he had never given up on his dreams. The full moon bathed the room in its silvery light, casting soft shadows on the walls. Michael looked at his sleeping wife and felt his heart overflow with love and gratitude. She deserved so much more than he could ever offer, but he was determined to make this moment special. His thoughts drifted to the trip he would take to Denver. The big city intimidated him a little, with its tall buildings and busy streets, so different from the tranquility of their farm. But the desire to do something special for Sophia was greater than any fear. Sleep finally began to weigh on his eyelids, but before giving in to rest, Michael offered a silent prayer of gratitude. He thanked the fertile land, his daughter's recovered health, the love of his wife, and the opportunity to finally give back a little of all that Sophia had done for him over the years. The night advanced quietly over the farm in the mountains of Colorado, cradling the dreams of a family that had learned the true value of life was not in material possessions, but in the love they shared. And as Michael drifted off to sleep, a gentle smile formed on his lips, anticipating the surprise that was to come. If this story interested you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit like. Tell us which city you're watching us from, and stay tuned. The morning of departure arrived with a mix of anticipation and apprehension. Michael had spent the week organizing everything on the farm so he could be away for a day. John and Peter would be in charge of the fieldwork, and Sophia, as always, would take care of everything at home. But there was something different in the air, an energy that made his heart beat faster. "Are you sure you don't want me to come with you?" Sophia asked for the third time as she helped Michael get ready. She had chosen his best shirt, carefully ironed, and insisted he wear the new shoes he saved for special occasions. Michael smiled, gently touching his wife's face. "Don't worry, mi amor, I'll be back before nightfall." He carefully tucked the check into the inner pocket of his jacket, making sure once again that it was secure. Lucy, who had been watching everything from the bedroom door, ran to hug her father before he left. "Bring something pretty for Mom, Dad," she asked, her eyes shining with anticipation. Michael hugged her tightly, breathing in the scent of her freshly washed hair. "Of course, mi pequeña, the most beautiful gift I can find." The walk to the bus stop was long, and Michael decided to go on foot. He wanted to use this time to gather his thoughts. The morning sun painted the mountains in shades of gold and green, creating a spectacle he knew by heart, but never ceased to admire. During his walk, he came across Don Raymond, an elderly neighbor who lived alone in a small house near the creek. The old man was sitting in his rocking chair on the porch as he did every morning. "Where are you off to, all dressed up, Michael?" he asked with a knowing smile. Michael paused for a moment, adjusting his hat. "I'm heading to Denver, Don Raymond. I need to take care of some business." The old man nodded, his wise eyes gleaming with understanding. "Ah, it must be something very special to make you leave the farm," he remarked, and Michael couldn't help but smile. The bus arrived right, on time, kicking up a small cloud of dust on the dirt road. Michael carefully climbed the steps and chose a seat near the window. As the vehicle pulled away, he watched his land fade into the distance, feeling a mix of pride and nostalgia. The trip to Denver took a few hours, during which Michael alternated between watching the gradually changing landscape and thinking about what he would do once he arrived in the city. He had kept a newspaper clipping with the addresses of some recommended jewelry stores, but the grandeur of the city still intimidated him. His thoughts were interrupted when the bus finally entered the limits of Denver, and the rural landscape gave way to increasingly tall buildings and bustling streets. Upon arriving at the bus station, Michael felt the immediate impact of the big city. The constant noise of cars, people rushing in every direction, the vibrant colors of shops and billboards, everything seemed more intense and fast-paced than in his quiet life in the countryside. With the address of the jewelry store in hand, Michael began his walk through the downtown streets. Every storefront he passed offered a new spectacle of lights and colors, but he kept his goal in mind. He wanted to find something truly special, something that would do justice to Sophia's love and dedication. After a few blocks, he spotted the jewelry store he was looking for. The establishment was imposing, with elegant display windows and a facade that bore the name Imperial Jewels in golden letters. Michael adjusted his clothes, took a deep breath, and pushed the tempered glass door. The interior was even more impressive than the facade. The icy air conditioning contrasted with the heat of the street, and the marble floor shone like a mirror. The display cases inside showcased dazzling jewels under strategically placed lights, making each piece sparkle like stars. The attendants, dressed in impeccable suits, seemed to freeze for a moment when Michael entered. They exchanged glances among themselves, and some customers already in the store couldn't hide their surprise. Michael noticed the whispers and the bewildered looks but kept his dignity intact. A young attendant, who couldn't have been more than 25, approached with a forced smile. "May I help you?" he asked in a tone that mixed disdain and disbelief. Michael maintained his calm demeanor. Years of hard work had taught him the value of patience. "Yes, please," he replied politely. "I'm looking for a necklace for my wife. Something truly special." The attendant barely managed to suppress a scornful smile. "Sir, our pieces are quite exclusive. Perhaps the gentleman would prefer to visit a more appropriate store." Michael felt the weight of those words, but he didn't let them shake him. "I would like to see the most beautiful necklace you have," he insisted firmly. The attendant, visibly annoyed by his persistence, decided to play a cruel game. He walked over to the most luxurious display case and took out a stunning emerald necklace. "This is one of our most exclusive necklaces," said the attendant, his voice dripping with irony. "A unique piece with Colombian emeralds and 18-karat white gold. The price is only..." And he quoted an amount that would make many of the store's regular customers hesitate. To the surprise of the attendant and everyone present, Michael showed no sign of shock at the price. Instead, he examined the piece carefully, admiring the craftsmanship and the brilliance of the stones. "This is exactly what I'm looking for," he said calmly. The silence that followed was absolute. Michael took the check from the inner pocket of his jacket and handed it to the clerk, who took it with trembling fingers. The amount was more than enough to cover the cost of the necklace, but the young man seemed determined to find some issue. "I'll need to verify this check with our manager," said the clerk, his voice now less confident. As he walked away, other customers watched the scene with poorly concealed curiosity. Michael remained standing, calm, as if he were in his agave field watching the sunset. The store owner, Mr. Harrison, a middle-aged man with graying hair and gold-rimmed glasses, approached, personally to assess the situation. Upon examining the check and hearing Michael's name, his expression changed completely. "Don Michael," he exclaimed with genuine interest. "You're the agave producer who won the award for the best harvest this year." Michael nodded humbly. Mr. Harrison smiled broadly. "What an honor to welcome you to our store. My brother is one of the buyers who purchased your harvest. He can't stop talking about the exceptional quality of your product." The atmosphere in the store changed drastically. The attendant who had treated Michael with disdain seemed to want to disappear, while Mr. Harrison made a point of personally showing other necklace options. "Please forgive me for the initial treatment," said the owner. "That does not represent the values of our establishment." Michael accepted the apologies graciously, but took the opportunity to deliver an important message. "Mr. Harrison, I appreciate your kindness, but I would like to say something. The value of a person is not in the clothes they wear or the money they have. It lies in their character, their honest work, and their respect for others." The owner listened attentively, visibly moved by the words. "You are absolutely right, Mr. Michael. Today I learned a valuable lesson." He then made sure to personally wrap the necklace, adding a special blue velvet box and a certificate of authenticity. Before leaving the store, Michael looked at the young attendant, who remained in a corner embarrassed. "Young man," he called with a calm voice, "I hope you also learned something today. True wealth is not in the displays of this store, but in how we treat one another." The sun was already beginning to set as Michael left the jewelry store. In his hands, he carried more than a valuable gift. He carried a story of dignity and respect that would be remembered for a long time in that establishment. His heart was light, eager to return home and see Sophia's face when she received the gift. On his way back to the bus station, Michael stopped at a small square to rest. He watched the people passing by, each with their own story, their own struggles and dreams. He thought about how that day had been such a different adventure from his routine on the farm, but also how it had reaffirmed the values that had always guided his life. The bus back home was almost empty. Michael settled into his seat, the precious package secure in his lap. As the city faded behind him and the landscape returned to fields and mountains, he thought of Sophia, of Lucy, and of his simple yet love-filled and meaningful life. The moon was already high in the sky when the bus finally reached its destination. Michael walked the rest of the way home, the stars lighting his path like old friends. The cool night air carried the familiar scent of his land, and he felt as if the mountains themselves were welcoming him back with a silent embrace. In the distance, he saw the light on the porch of his house still on. Sophia always left it on when he was away. His heart swelled with emotion as he thought of the surprise he was about to give. That gift was more than a valuable necklace. It was a symbol of all the years of love, sacrifice, and companionship they had shared. Sophia waited on the porch, her heart beating faster with each passing minute. Lucy had already fallen asleep, but she couldn't rest without knowing that Michael was home, safe and sound. The shadows of the night danced under the lantern light, and the silence was broken only by the soft chirping of crickets and the occasional hoot of a distant owl. When she finally spotted the familiar silhouette of Michael coming up the dirt path leading to the house, Sophia felt her eyes fill with tears of relief. He walked with the same dignity as always, but there was something different in his expression, a special glow she couldn't quite decipher. "My love," she called softly, stepping down from the porch to meet him. Michael gave a tired but happy smile, wrapping her in a tight embrace. The familiar scent of his wife, a mix of lavender and freshly made tortillas, made him feel truly at home. "How was the trip?" asked Sophia, leading him inside. In the kitchen, a pot of hot coffee awaited him, along with a covered plate holding his dinner. Michael sat at the table, studying every detail of his beloved wife's face as she poured him a steaming cup. "It was an interesting experience," he replied, his eyes shining with a mix of amusement and wisdom. "The big city is a very different world from ours, my love. But I learned something very important today." Sophia sat beside him, her hands finding his on the table. Michael began to recount his adventure at the jewelry store, describing in detail the initial reaction of the staff, the arrival of the owner, and the drastic change in how he was treated. Sophia listened intently, her heart swelling with pride at how her husband had handled the situation. "But enough about that," said Michael, rising from the table with a mysterious smile. "I have something for you." He pulled the blue velvet box from his coat pocket, placing it in Sophia's trembling hands. "Open it," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. Sophia opened the box slowly, and a gasp escaped her lips as she saw the magnificent emerald necklace. The stone sparkled under the soft kitchen light, each facet reflecting not just the light, but also the love and dedication that had made this moment possible. "Michael," she began, but words failed her. Silent tears streamed down her face as her fingers delicately touched the precious stones. It's too beautiful. But you didn't have to. You worked so hard for this." Michael knelt beside her, holding her hands in his. "Sophia, my love, you deserve this. And so much more. Do you remember when Lucy was sick? You never lost hope, never stopped smiling even in the toughest moments. This necklace is just a small symbol of everything you mean to me, to our family." With gentle hands, Michael took the necklace out of the box and placed it around Sophia's neck. The emerald seemed to have been made especially for her, perfectly matching the tone of her eyes. "Perfect," he murmured, admiring how the jewel enhanced his wife's natural beauty even more. Sophia stood up and walked over to the small mirror hanging on the kitchen wall. Her reflection showed not just a woman wearing a valuable necklace, but a story of love, sacrifice, and dedication that had endured years of joys and hardships. "Dad? Mom?" Lucy's sleepy voice surprised them. The little girl stood at the kitchen door, rubbing her eyes. When she saw the necklace around her mother's neck, her eyes widened. "Mom, you look like a princess." Sophia opened her arms, and Lucy ran into her embrace. Michael joined them, wrapping his two princesses in a tight hug. That moment, so simple yet so precious, was worth more than all the jewels in the world. The next morning, news of Michael's gift to Sophia spread quickly through the village. People talked not just about the value of the necklace, but especially about the lesson in dignity Michael had taught in the big city. Mr. Raymond, who ran into Michael during his morning walk, smiled wisely as he listened to the story. "You know, Michael," said the old man, settling into his rocking chair, "some people think wealth is having a lot of money or expensive jewels. But the true wealth lies in the hearts of men like you, who know the value of love and respect." The words of the old neighbor deeply touched Michael. He looked at his farm, at the agave fields stretching as far as the eye could see, and felt a profound gratitude. Every plant, every grain of soil in that place carried a story of perseverance and love. John and Peter arrived for work that morning, finding Michael already in the field as usual. But there was something different about their boss, a greater serenity, as if he had discovered a treasure that had always been there, just waiting to be recognized. "Don, Michael," John called, approaching respectfully. "We heard about your visit to the city. You gave us a great lesson." Michael smiled, adjusting his hat to shield his eyes from the morning sun. "The only lesson I gave was the one I learned from my father, John, that a man's true worth lies in his character, not in his possessions." As they worked, Michael shared more details with his employees about his adventure in the city. He told them about the initial treatment he received, the change in attitude when they discovered who he was, and how he maintained his dignity throughout the process. "You know, boys," he said, pausing for a moment to gaze at the horizon, "that store had many shiny, expensive things, but nothing there shone brighter than Sophia's smile when I arrived home. That's what really matters." In the house, Sophia was preparing lunch with Lucy, the emerald necklace carefully stored in the blue velvet box. She had decided to wear it only on special occasions, not because she feared losing or damaging it, but because its true value lay in the meaning it carried. "Mom," Lucy asked while helping to chop the vegetables, "why did Dad give you such a beautiful gift?" Sophia smiled, thoughtful. "Because your father is a man who knows that love is shown not just with gifts, my love, but with actions and respect. The necklace is beautiful, yes, but the most beautiful thing is his heart." Sophia's words echoed a truth that went beyond that simple kitchen in the mountains of Colorado. It was a truth that Michael had demonstrated not only to his family, but to everyone who knew his story. That true wealth is not in the things we own, but in how we treat one another. In the afternoon, as the sun began to dip on the horizon, Michael found Sophia on the porch. She was sitting in her favorite chair, watching Lucy play in the yard with her dolls. The emerald necklace rested on her neck, catching the last golden rays of the day. "Are you happy, my love?" he asked, sitting down beside her. Sophia intertwined her fingers with his, a gesture they had shared thousands of times over the years, but one that never lost its meaning. "I've always been happy by your side, Michael. The necklace is beautiful, but what makes me happiest is knowing I have a husband who is an example to our daughter and to our community." Michael gently kissed his wife's hand, his heart overflowing with love and gratitude. The sun slowly set over their land, painting the sky with shades of pink and orange that no artist could replicate. The scent of wildflowers rose from the fields, mingling with the aroma of the still warm earth from the day. At that moment, watching his small family, Michael realized that his adventure in the big city had been more than just a purchase. It had been an affirmation of his values, a chance to show that dignity and respect are the true jewels we must cultivate in our lives. Lucy ran up to them, her eyes sparkling with the energy of childhood. "Daddy, tell the story of the big city." "Again?" she asked, sitting at her parents' feet. Michael smiled, exchanging a knowing glance with Sophia. "Of course, my dear. But first, I want you to understand something very important. The greatest wealth we have is not in any jewelry store. It's right here in our family, in our love for one another." And so, as night fell gently over the mountains of Colorado, Michael began to tell his story again, not as a tale of a simple purchase, but as a lesson about love, respect, and dignity that would be remembered and passed down through generations. The days that followed brought a new energy to the farm in the mountains of Colorado. Michael's story at the jewelry store had spread not only through the village, but across the entire region, becoming a legend that people told with pride and admiration. Mr. Harrison, the owner of the jewelry store, kept his promise of change. He implemented a new code of conduct in his shop, requiring that all customers be treated with the same respect and dignity, regardless of their appearance or background. The young clerk who had looked down on Michael became one of the most considerate employees, having learned a valuable lesson about judging people by their appearance. One morning, as Michael supervised work in the agave field, a sleek car came up the dirt road leading to the farm. It was Mr. Harrison, who had made the long journey from Denver to visit the property in person. "Don Michael," the jeweler greeted, extending his hand with genuine respect. "I came to thank you in person. Your visit to my store not only changed our establishment, but also my perspective on life." Michael welcomed him with the same hospitality he offered to everyone who arrived. In his land, Sophia prepared fresh coffee and her best tortillas, and they talked at length about the importance of values like respect, humility, and honest work. "You know, Mr. Harrison," said Michael, as they walked through the agave field, "each of these plants takes years to reach maturity. We can't rush their growth or make them produce before the right time. It takes patience, dedication, and respect for nature. The same goes for human relationships." The jeweler watched in fascination at the perfectly aligned rows of agave, understanding for the first time the complexity and beauty of that work, which had once seemed so distant from his world of jewels and luxury. "My father always said," Michael continued, "that true wealth isn't in what we possess, but in what we cultivate, whether in the land or in people's hearts. Every plant here has its story, just like every person we meet on our journey." Lucy, who accompanied them on the walk, absorbed every word with the curiosity typical of her age. She had inherited from her father not only a love for the land, but also his natural wisdom and ability to see beyond appearances. "Daddy," she asked, holding her father's hand, "when I grow up, can I take care of the farm like you?" Michael smiled, exchanging a proud glance with Sophia, who watched them from the porch. "Of course, mi pequeña. But always remember, taking care of the land also means taking care of the people who depend on it." Mr. Harrison left that afternoon with a new perspective on life. In his store in Denver, he proudly displayed a framed photograph of Michael's farm, using it as an example to his employees about the importance of valuing hard work and character. The months passed, and Michael's story continued to inspire people throughout the region. His farm became an example not only of excellence in agave production, but also of how a family can thrive while keeping their values and dignity intact. Sophia cherished the emerald necklace, wearing it only on special occasions. For her, its true value was not in the precious stones, but in the story of love and respect it represented. Every time she wore it, she remembered not only the day Michael brought it to her, but also all the moments they had shared throughout their journey together. One afternoon, while Sophia was helping Lucy with her homework, the girl found an old photograph tucked between the pages of a book. It was a picture of her parents when they were young, long before their farm prospered, when all they had was love and dreams. The emerald necklace, lovingly kept in a blue velvet box, became more than just a valuable jewel. It transformed into a symbol of a story that continues to inspire and touch hearts, reminding everyone who encounters it that true wealth cannot be measured in carats or coins, but in the love we cultivate and the respect we show one another. Dear friends, just as the emerald necklace shines around Sophia's neck, we hope this story continues to shine in your hearts. In the mountains of Colorado, Michael taught us that true wealth lies in the values we nurture and the respect we show one another. To continue sharing stories as special as this one, we've prepared an exclusive selection of narratives that, like Michael's agave, have been cultivated with care and dedication. Find our special playlist by clicking the button on the left side of your screen. If this story touched your heart like Michael's love for Sophia, leave your like and subscribe to our channel. Every day, like the sun rising over the mountains of Colorado, we bring new stories that illuminate our understanding of what truly matters in life. In the comments, share with us which moment in this story touched your soul the most. Was it when Michael faced prejudice with dignity, when Sophia received the necklace with tears in her eyes, or when little Lucy learned about the true value of people? Your participation is like the stars that light up the nights of Colorado, each one unique and special. We'll be back soon with more stories that, like the love of Michael and Sophia, make us believe in the beauty of life and the transformative power of respect and dignity. See you soon, dear friends.